I'm Officer Chalon Park. I've been a police officer for 7 years. I just came from the Chula Vista Police Department where I was in the gang unit and been at Menifee PD for 5 months now. I remember it being really early in the morning. I was at work. I worked at Fender, and I got a phone call from my sister who was kind of like panicking and said that we were under attack. And I said, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "America, we're under attack." And she said that the Twin Towers have been blown up or hit, or and then she said a plane flew into it. And I was on the phone with her, and she was like, "Oh my God, the second tower was hit. They're saying that this wasn't intentional, that, and now there's a third plane that they found out had been hijacked." So I was telling my coworkers, and we all ran into the break room and turned on the TV and started watching it. A lot of people work there, so people from all different age groups, early 20s to people in their 60s, were all gathered around. And it was the same kind of vibe that you were getting at school. It's the older people were like, "I've never seen this." Some of the older people did say, like, when JFK got shot, everybody, that's the last time they remember America kind of feeling one big hit was taken. Everybody was pretty much in disbelief, like, this can't be real. Maybe this was an accident. Maybe, people were trying to rationalize it, even though they knew with the two planes and then the third one being hijacked. I mean, we knew that there was some intent. It was hard to grasp and hard to believe. So the conversation around the workplace was kind of that back and forth, like, who would do that and why? And everybody's so confused and just thinking of all the people that were there in those towers, and we're just watching it, and it got really quiet. It was really, really quiet after that the rest of the day. After 9/11 happened, it was America kind of came together in this big unity type thing. Everybody was like mounting American flags to their cars and the stickers, and people were putting out flyers, and everybody was being nice to each other, like we were bonded for this one mourning all of these people that had just died. And I remember watching the news, and they kept replaying it, and the people jumping from the towers was really, that's really when I started crying, when you really see people jumping, or get burned, and they chose to just jump. And I felt so helpless and wanted to do something. I remember talking to friends, and we're just like, so we just go to work and just go on with your lives like this isn't happening. And the whole talk from the president and the government and everything was, this is an act of war, that we're going to go to war to whoever did this. They quickly kind of put out who they thought it was, terrorist attack, what country it was from. So I went and enlisted in the Army, I think within the week of 9/11 happening. I went to the recruiter's office probably within the week and had to start the process of going to take the ASVAB and all of the recruitment stuff. So probably within a couple months or so, I was enlisted with a ship date, and then my ship date was like a few months after that. It was, so September 11th was 2001, and I shipped out in first week of May 2002. I went to Fort Leonard Wood for basic, and then I got stationed at Fort Stewart in Georgia, which was 3rd Infantry Division. Yeah, when I was finishing up my AIT, which is your school for your job that you go to after basic, I got my orders originally to go to 4th ID in Texas. And 2 days before I was leaving, I got my orders changed to 3rd ID in Georgia. It was last minute. So I get to Georgia, I go to my unit, and everybody's already packed. Everybody's already packing, and they're like, "Well, welcome to Georgia. Don't unpack, because we're shipping out in a couple weeks to go to Iraq, to go to war for the invasion." And I was like, okay, so they issue me all my gear, and basically we do our gear checks and all that stuff, and pretty much immediately went to Iraq. Yeah, I think it was February. By that point, I'm pretty sure that we went to Iraq. And that was for the invasion, OIF 1. That was to Baghdad. I know at first there was kind of talk on the news and everything of during the draft, if people didn't enlist, and they didn't even need to do that because so many people felt like me, like they just wanted to be a part of felt like you're doing something, to not just sit around, to get involved. So there was a lot of that. It doesn't feel like it's been, 20 years at this point. I remember it like it was yesterday. So every 9/11, I do watch the documentaries, the stuff. I actually just watched it this week. Netflix just came out with another one, and they start from the beginning. They start from radio traffic, trying to get a hold of the first plane, and that's kind of how it started, is just the pilot wasn't responding. And it was just, the feelings all come back, like to 20 years ago. I start getting emotional. Just watching the documentary this past week, I started crying, choking up at listening to audio of people calling 911 from the plane. And then after, like when you're saying, when the towers came down and everybody was just covered in soot, and people were saying how people were just walking around, even though they didn't get like hit by anything, but just from the explosion and from the trauma, they were just pacing in circles. Like, he used the word zombies. They didn't know who they were. They didn't know where they were going, and they're just covered in soot, wandering around. He said that was like thousands of people doing that, and just watching it, it's you weren't even there, but you feel kind of traumatized yourself that that you keep watching this that this really happened to people. So every year 9/11, I watch that stuff, and it just all comes, the emotions come flooding back. I remember the disbelief, and then it turned into anger. I can't believe, somebody would do this to anybody. This, innocent people just at work that day, or, on the ground, walking around. So every year, the emotions just come back around that time. All the emotions, the disbelief, sadness, anger, just every year. Not directly, I was a electronics technician for 7 years for a healthcare company when I got out, because in the military I was an electronics technician for missile guidance systems. So I had that training, and I missed the camaraderie type feel of the military. I missed helping protect people, and I'll never forget, a lot of the kids in Iraq would say, you help us, you make us feel safe, you protect us. And they would hug us and cry, and I thought about that a lot over the years, and I missed that feeling of, it's a good feeling to make people feel protected and safe, and when you can do that, and I missed that. And I started doing ride-alongs with one of my friends who was a cop in Cyprus, and I was getting that exact feeling. I just kept going. I was staying this old 12-hour shifts every ride-along, and he's like, you need to do this. And I said, you're right. And that's when I made the career change. My whole life put me here now was because of 9/11. Would I still be working at Fender? I don't know. I'd probably still be in that type of field, but I wouldn't have been, gained all the experiences I did in the military, good and bad. I wouldn't have made all the friends and stuff I did, and then in turn I probably wouldn't have ended up here in this job, because I didn't really, it was missing all of those feelings that led me into this type of feeling that I was getting in the military, which I wouldn't have been in had it not been for 9/11. So 9/11, in a sense, changed the path of my life. So I'm glad I joined when I did. I feel like I did something. I mean, I don't know how much my part did, but I feel like I did something. I feel like even if a little bit, if we helped or saved any of those kids or those people over there, that was something. So 9/11 every year reminds me of that, and reminds me of what I'm doing today. So it's good to, check in with yourself every once in a while. 9/11, the anniversary of that kind of does that. So